Hello friends, my name is Shilpa Kakkar. I am from M.B.Patel English Medium Secondary and Higher Secondary School. Today I am back with chapter number 10 of Standard 12th History. The name of the chapter is The Process and Progress of Nation Building. This is the second part. In the previous part, we did about models of economic development and the objectives of economic planning in India. Now let us see what were the 5-year plans. You all know till 2017 12 5-year plans have been implemented. Let us see year wise how these plans were and what were the objectives of these plans. The 5-year plans were implemented in order to achieve the different objectives. The objectives which we discussed, those objectives were economic development at increasing rate, decrease in economic inequality, to attain full employment, independence, self-reliance, stability of rates, and development in the education field. These 5-year plans were launched as the milestones in the history of economic planning. Similar, these plans were successfully tried out in Russia also. Therefore, the 5-year planning was started in India to make rapid economic development on the line of Russian socialist ideology. This socialist ideology was against the capitalism. There was no scope for capitalists. So you should know what is socialism. Socialist ideology believes that the planning, the work should be centralized. It should be in the hands of the government. No privatization should be there. No capitalists should be there in order to earn the profits and to enjoy the benefits. Equal distribution of the things should be there. And that is why Russia adopted this ideology and made a lot of progress in a very short time period. The 5-year plans were implemented in India also. The first 5-year plan was implemented in the year 1951. The first span was 1951 to 1956. The objectives of the first 5-year plan were to achieve self-reliance by increasing production of grains. The second objective of the first 5-year plan was to increase national income and to raise people's standard of living. The country's economy was not stable due to the Second World War and the partition of country and the communal rights. You all know. And that is why these two objectives were the main objectives of the at the initial stage of the planning, because these were the basis of the rest of the 5-year plans. The commission was formed on the Harrod-Domer model. At the end of this planning, we could progress quite well in the fields of agriculture, irrigation, electricity, production, and transportation. There was an increase in the national income by 18%, and that was the fabulous one, because in the initial stage, with no financial support, we could able to achieve this much of national income. So the progress was very good in the first 5-year plan. Taking the lesson from the first 5-year plan, second 5-year plan was implemented. It came into effect from 1956 to 1961. The poverty rate could not be decreased even after 8 years of India's independence. As a part of the objectives of the country's economic policy, the Indian government declared the ideal of socialistic pattern of society. Accordingly, the economic development programs had been implemented in such a way that there is progress of the marginalized section of the society. Marginalized section means the small section of the society, the one who are not having good financial condition. So we have seen that it was through the second 5-year plan that the foundation for the future industrial development in India was laid. On the opposite side, on the other hand, the poisonous wheel of price rise, inflation, it was terrible at that time. We know that by the end of the plan, the production could be increased considerably of iron and steel, cement, chemical, heavy machineries, electrical goods, etc. But with that, the price were increasing, and that was the vicious circle. Inflation, you know that inflation is the worst thing. When the prices rise, the standard of living cannot rise. So it was very difficult for them to face this problem of inflation. The third 5-year plan was implemented from 1961 to 1966. It covered this time span, and the principal aim of the plan was to establish a self-reliant and self-evident economy. But that was the toughest period of India, because India had two wars at that time. The war with China, India-China war in 1962, and the war between India and Pakistan in 1965 deteriorated the economy. It had, no matter we won that war, but it was our loss. With that, there was severe drought, which led to the complete failure of the planning. Under the prevailing situation, there was price rise and scarcity of the resources just because of the wars. You know, that is why we avoid wars. It is easy to declare the war, it is easy to win the war, but it is not at all easy even to win, even after winning a war, to sustain after that time, because it's a loss. So, under the prevailing situation, there was price rise, scarcity of the resources which were needed to fulfill the planning objectives. Hence, the fourth 5-year plan could not be given the final shape. As a result, instead of fourth 5-year plan, 3 annual plans were drawn. Hence, this plan was known as Plan Holiday, because it was very difficult to sustain during that time when there was war and then when there was scarcity. The fourth 5-year plan, that is actually from 1969 to 1974. The main objective of this plan was to have economic development along with the stability and self-reliance. During this plan, 14 banks were nationalized. That is in 1969. We have developed our banks in 1969. These were the 14 banks which were nationalized, and since then we have nationalized banks. So you should have the knowledge of this also. Alright, the fifth 5-year plan and sixth 5-year plan, there was again problem. The fifth 5-year plan covered from the period 1974 to 1978. Barring the first year of the 5-year plan, the remaining 4 years were favorable. Hence, the planning was successful. As the fifth 5-year plan was terminated in 1977, you all know the emergency was declared in India at that time due to the upheaval in the politics. The sixth 5-year plan was drawn in 1978, which was named as Rolling Plan. However, as there was change of government in the center in January 1980, the sixth 5-year plan was for the period 1980 to 1985. This plan laid an emphasis on the aspects of poverty removal, employment generation, fulfillment of people's minimum requirement, रोटी कपड़ा और मकान. ये जो 3 बेसिक चीज़ें हैं वो उसको मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट कहा जाता है, and increase in production capacity. If we compare, 6th 5-year plan was comparatively more successful than the previous ones. The 7th 5-year plan was from the period 1985 to 1990. It was decided to aim at increase in production capacity, employment generation, reduction in poverty levels, the protection of environment, and to be self-reliant in as many fields as possible in this plan. The developmental targets were achieved during this plan, but it was tough to raise required internal financial means and also the foreign currency. You know, any country's economy depends on the foreign currency. The more foreign currency the country has, the more financially strong that country is. So it was difficult for them. The 8th 5-year plan was developed late by 2 years due to political instability. Its time focus was 1992 to 1997. The plan mainly focused on the spread of primary education, eradication of illiteracy in the age group of 15 to 35, that is, the removal of illiteracy among the youth, provision for drinking water, and agricultural development. Students, the government had proposed so many policies in order to educate people. It has not only provided free education, free uniform, free books to the people in order to spread literacy. among the people, to literate human beings, to literate citizens of India. Government has done a lot so that if the educated people would be there, there would be development. So they have floated so many policies, so many ways to attract girl education also. Not only that, they were giving, they were providing free meal also. They are providing free meal to the children, those who are coming to school. Akshay Patra, you know that the midday meal schools are there where one time meal is provided to the children if they come to school. So government has done a lot in order to spread literacy, to have educated Indians. So the recommendations of this plan were accepted at such a time when the country was facing terrible problems, which included budget deficit, problem of balance in payments, increasing debts, and of course inflation. As a result, the issues such as poverty, unemployment, and inequality continued to persist. You know that whatever we do, we won't be able to fill up the gap between the poor and the rich. The ninth 5 year plan was implemented from 1997 to 2002. For this plan, most of the objectives of the preceding plans were continued. Other aims of the plan were to bring the nation out of depression, to generate further employment opportunities, to promote agriculture, rural development, removal of poverty. All these things were the target. The emphasis was laid on the welfare of the poor people. But again, inflation could not be controlled. The population growth rate could not be checked at that time. The literacy rate increased. That was the good sign. But the industrial development remained slow during that period. In the 10th 5 year plan, which was drawn from 2002 to 2007, the main aim, this model was based on income expenditure model. It was for the first time that the rate of state-wise development was decided. So each state, how much they have developed, every state was given importance. In this plan, there was also a provision made to check the social targets along with economic targets. It had set the targets such as to decrease poverty rate, supply drinking water in each village, to reduce subsidy on fertilizers, to remove subsidy on petroleum, to develop aviation further by constructing aerodromes with the help of the investment from private sector, to decrease the child mortality rate, to encourage foreign investment, and to convert sick public sector units into private sector. You know that after 1991, the liberalization policy was adopted in India. Before that, liberalization was not adopted. It was a socialist ideology which we were following. But with the time, we had to change, we changed. And with this change, with the privatization, many things changed. When we see the rate of development of this time, we could see that it was the need of the hour. The 11th and the 12th 5-year plan were developed during 2007 to 2012 and from 2012 to 2017 respectively. The rate of the national development was planned. In the plan was fixed at 7.8% and the rate of development of agriculture was 3.3%. In the 12th 5-year plan, the rate of development targeted in the plan is 8%. You know, students, that after 2017, no other 5-year plan was commissioned. Then it has come to an end and a new Niti Aayog was introduced, and that was for the development of the country. 12th 5-year plan was the last 5-year plan which was commissioned, and after that Narendra Modi dissolved the planning commission and he had restated, given a new form, new face to the planning commission, that is called as Niti Aayog. For the better understanding of this chapter, read it and understand it. Thank you.